ASMR Reality. All proceeds from this channel go to the Animal Protection League. Please consider subscribing or becoming a channel member. Today I want to discuss my journey from Christianity to the beliefs that I have today. Many of you that have been with me a long time may already know some of this, but I have a lot of newer subscribers that have not listened to my older videos. So I was asked to discuss my journey, and I thought it would be a nice refresher for, or not a refresher, but a nice introduction for some of my newer subscribers. So here we go. I was raised in a very Christian home. I would say that the home was not as Christian as the devotion to the church. And I don't say that with expectations of my family being perfect. I'm just saying it was far from perfect, and but I feel like they did the things they should have done if they wanted to truly say they were Christians as far as the outside activities. Church every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, every Wednesday night, every youth function, every vacation Bible study, every church retreat. My parents went on couples retreats. They were fully committed to the church. And this was, I would say, probably from the time I was 4 or 5 years old, maybe 3 or 4. I don't have a lot of memories prior to my parents converting to Christianity or becoming Christians. But I know a lot of the stories, and like I had seen items at the house that were historical items that my parents had that predated their Christian life. Like there was a bottle of wine that my mom won at some like dance-off contest at some bar, and obviously that would not be a Christian activity. So, but yeah, and I remember being like really wrapped up in it, like as far as like I believed as a young kid, I believed. I remember like sitting like truly like very concentrated, very I was listening so closely to the sermons about the rapture and when Jesus returns, and I did not want to get left behind. I remember thinking about like, what if pilots are raptured? Does the plane crash? What if semi drivers get raptured? Does the semi crash into other cars? I mean, it was like, rather than having like fantasy style, science fiction style thoughts about the future, I was having cataclysmic thoughts about the future, and it made me want to be good. I wanted to be raptured. If I died unexpectedly, I wanted to go to heaven. I did not want hell, because it was someplace described to me as someplace that I definitely would not want to go. So early on, I would say maybe 12 years old, maybe until I was 12 years old, somewhere around that time frame was the first time my parents got divorced. And I remember it was, I had those thoughts as a child thinking, my parents did everything right as far as like the duties that they were supposed to perform. Tithing their money while we were very poor. They would still give 10% of my dad's paycheck to the church, thinking that was going to somehow, if they just kept doing it, their prize was coming, that they were going to be okay. But in essence, my family fell apart. They did everything they were supposed to do. At least this was the thoughts I had as a young boy. I remember having those thoughts, those logical thoughts, thinking, why did this happen to us? Why did my family fall apart? And why do we live so hard when they're doing the right thing? They're worshiping the right God. Where are our blessings? And then it just became clear that truly, when you read the book and you listen to Christ, suffering is almost part of the deal. And your price is coming after death, that you suffer through this life to get the prize in the end. So that's kind of how I concluded. But at that time, I still was afraid of not believing. And I still believed in that fantastical idea that there was this being out there watching every move I made, caring about all the things I did, and still letting the things that happened to me happen to me. So then I would say I probably lived in that like state of confusion for probably a couple years. Sometime within that time frame, my mom, I actually know what it is. I was 10 years old, not 12 years old, when my parents got divorced, because my mom became pregnant shortly after my parents got divorced. And my dad actually took her back. My dad actually came back. They got remarried so that my dad could raise that child. It was strange, but at any rate, they remarried. They were married, got divorced, got remarried, truly wedding, everything. They got remarried. And until I think maybe when I was 15, 16, they got divorced again. So my brother Caleb would have been 5 or 6 years old. And they got divorced again. And at that point, that's when I really started to struggle. Because if there was suffering before, then there's really suffering now. Because everybody's older. There's a new baby in the picture. If it was inconvenient before, this is much more inconvenient. Anyway, that began my whole anger at God. That became the point where I still believed, but I expressed my anger and my frustration at God. I rebelled, and I was angry. But probably not until I was 17 or 18 did I really begin to form an opinion that it just cannot be real. But I still somewhat held on to the belief. And then I lived several years just not even thinking about it, just living like how I wanted to live, but still in the back of my mind thinking, yeah, I know if I die right now, I'm gonna burn in hell. And then when I was 28, my brother died. My brother Caleb, he was 18. So from 17 probably till 28, I was a rebel teen. And then working, but I really was committed to just like working, saying I'm going to get out of poverty. That I was going to do it. Like part of rebelling was just like rebelling against my dad, rebelling against the church, rebelling against the idea of God, and just really saying I'm going to be independent. I'm going to do this. Like I was in this I'll prove you all wrong. Like getting myself out of poverty because my parents never could. And that's what I did. And then when I was 28, my brother died. And I remember, like, it was about 11 o'clock at night, and my stepbrother called me, and he had never called me prior to that. And we just really didn't talk. We didn't do things together. Anyway, he called me and he said, hey, you need to get to the hospital. Your brother's been in a motorcycle accident. And I'm like, it was 11 o'clock at night and I had to work the next day. So I'm like, dude, he'll be okay. There's nothing I can do to help him. I'll go see him tomorrow. So, he said, no, man, he may not be here tomorrow. I'm like, what? Dude, you gotta be kidding me. And at that point, it really kind of hit me that, oh my God, he might really be hurt. The hospital was probably 15 minutes from my house, so I was probably there within 20 minutes. I took 5 minutes to get ready to go. And I was there within 20 minutes, and he was already gone. And my mom was there. It was unbelievable. So at that point, I had a heart-to-heart with myself, and I said, that's it. I've been uncommitted. I knew that he was gone, and he was one place or the other, was my thought. And I thought, well, I want to see him again because I believed he was in heaven. I believed that he would have been, I would have hoped at the time he would have qualified, and I wanted to see him again. So I said, that's it. I'm going to quit this, like, halfway believing, halfway not. And I'm going to commit, and I'm going to do everything I can to see him again. And my parents, throughout our time in Christianity, we had been in several different denominations of church, like Church of God, Church of Christ, Baptist, and we spent the most time, and we're currently still in an Assembly of God. And to this day, my parents are still at that same Assembly of God church. Even though they're divorced and my dad's remarried, they both still go to that church. Now, they don't sit together, obviously, but they go to the same church. Weird. Anyway. So part of me, my commitment was saying, what denomination was I going to follow? I didn't have to just follow what my parents were in, and I didn't really know what the difference was. And I thought, if I'm going to be educated on Christianity and be committed, I need to know what are the differences. What's the difference between a Baptist and a Catholic and a Lutheran and a Methodist, Episcopalian, Church of God, Church of Christ, Lutheran Church, or Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah Witness. And anyway, I didn't know what, but I knew they were different. They all believed in the same Jesus, but they all believed something different. And in my mind, there is only one truth. So hypothetically, the Church of God believes, let's use a different example, the Baptists believe in miracles. They believe if you pray, like if you're sick and you pray, Jesus can make you better. If you have cancer and you pray, Jesus can take it away. Anyway, the Church of Christ does not believe in miracles. They believe Jesus performed miracles, but they do not believe that miracles are performed today. Their stance is that if miracles were performed, it would take away your ability to require faith. So, for example, if my arm got cut off in a car wreck and somebody walked up to me and put my arm back on my shoulder and laid their hands on it I lost my arm 10 years ago, and I went to one of these miracle performing churches, and I went up on stage and I said, I want God to give me my arm back. And right there in front of everybody, my arm grew back. You're gonna believe in God, right? I mean, if it was on videotape, I mean, how many people could I win to Christ if I had that on YouTube? You know, and I had videos of me for 10 years walking around with a nub on my shoulder, and then videos of 3 years of me using an arm that was and video of it growing back, right? So if you watch that, you wouldn't need faith. You would believe instantaneously. So it's logical. It kind of makes sense where it kind of makes sense. Their theory makes sense, but they cannot both be true. If God exists, then there is a truth about God, and there are either miracles performed today on earth or there are not. You can't have it both ways. There either are miracles on earth today or they're not. So if somebody's truly living in harmony with the creator of the universe, and the creator of the universe is talking to them, surely to God, the creator of the universe gives them the knowledge, helps them understand what is right and wrong. So you see, both parties are saying that they do. If you talk to somebody that's a member of a Church of Christ or a member of a Baptist, they will both tell you that they believe absolutely they are doing the right thing, but one of them is wrong. Now, it doesn't mean that they're atrociously wrong, but when it comes to right and wrong, true and false, definitionally, one of them is false, right? And so if it's false, and the other is true, then this is a false religion, and it is a Ten Commandment. False religions are horribly forbidden and frowned upon in the Bible, multiple different verses. So I would think, and this was my thinking, what better way for Satan to disguise himself but in a fake denomination of Christianity to deceive people away. And so I did not want to choose the wrong denomination. I wanted the right one. Which one was truly Christ's chosen people? You know? So that's what I began studying. And I learned a lot of the things that are different in these denominations. And I learned a lot by reading my Bible. So what I came up with is, if I was going to be a Christian, Jehovah's Witness would be the only one I would be. And if it is so strange, because I'm sure if you're a Christian and you're hearing me say this, you're probably like, what on earth, right? Because they are like extreme. But if you think about it this way, Christ said, you will be laughed at, you will be mocked, you will be hated and persecuted. Well, are Catholics persecuted? No, they're mainstream. They're popular, right? So are Baptists, and like the majority of people in the United States claim to be Christians, more than half. It's the number one religion in America. So now it's seen a big decline, but it's still there's still a lot of people that claim they believe. So but there's just so many reasons. I don't really want to get into that. Maybe later in another video, if people want to hear, I'll kind of describe some of the religious differences. But well, let me give you an example with Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't celebrate their birthdays. People think they're weird for that. Well, they don't celebrate their birthdays because they believe all glory goes to God, and they don't want to glorify themselves. They don't want to bring attention to themselves. They want to live meek and humble, like the scripture says. So they don't celebrate their own birthdays. But that's just one example, and their justification for why they do what they do. But it is given them a reputation for some reason. Now think about this as well. If somebody knocks on your door today and says, I want to tell you about Jesus, you're going to say, you're one of them. They're Jehovah's Witnesses, aren't you? Because what are they doing? They're evangelizing. They're doing exactly what Christ told them to do. Go among all men and preach the gospel. They are ensuring that every single person knows they are serving that time. Just like in Israel, every child out of high school has to go to the military. Well, in the Jehovah's Witness, if you're in the Jehovah's Witness and you're becoming a member, you have to spend part of your time evangelizing. So if you're going to really do it, I just think that they're the ones that scripturally, when I read the Bible, that's what I see. They're the only ones on the Christian side that I think are doing the right thing. Now, just like on the Muslim side, I believe I hate to say this, but the people that are most extreme are following the Quran the closest, like Osama bin Laden. If Muhammad is real and Islam is the one true religion, which they claim it to be, then the best Muslims, the ones that get the best prizes in heaven, are people like him, because he is following the word to a T. Not saying, well, that was back then, or that's not now. People read scriptures and they say, well, that was a different era, or all the things that we talk about, like, for example, in the Bible, where there's just all sorts of crazy stuff, like getting to the Bible. And that was another thing, that part of my studying and learning the differences of denominations was reading the Bible for real, not just memorizing Bible verses like my Sunday school teachers made us do and things like that. It was actually reading it. And I came across scriptures like Numbers 31 and just the strangest, like what animals you can eat, what animals you can't eat, and thinking about like Adam and Eve, and knowing that Adam and Eve were created, but that's it. No other humans were created. He made Adam, he pulled a rib out of Adam, he made Eve, and that's it. Then Adam and Eve had kids. Now, how did I get here? Well, you can read into how we got here, because that first family, made more kids, which made us, right? That's the story. That's just how it happened. That's how it happened, and it's not denied. So, and yet later on in that book, it says it's absolutely forbidden for family members to do that. Amongst other scriptures, like you can't be with a woman when she's on her period. It's scripturally forbidden for you to do that. And if you end up doing it, if you do it, you're unclean. Now, these are all sins of the Old Testament. And people say, well, that was Old Testament. Okay, right. It was Old Testament. Jesus didn't come and say, hey, all those rules aren't rules anymore. Jesus came to say, you don't have to die for doing them anymore. Many sins were punished by death back then. For example, working on the Sabbath. I read the scripture about the man that was killed for picking up sticks on a Sunday. The people of the village said, oh, he's picking up sticks, literally picking up sticks. Just Google Bible picking up sticks death, and you'll see the story. It's there. In fact, the men of the city see him doing it, and they don't know what to do, so they go and get Moses, and they say, Moses, what should we do? And Moses consults God, and God says, you gotta kill him. And maybe it wasn't Moses, it was somebody that consulted God, and God said, hey, you have to do it. He shouldn't have been doing it. You've got to do it. So the men didn't even want to do it, but they went to God, and God said, yep, you got to teach him a lesson. And they did. And they stoned you back then. They put you in a pit, and then they all threw rocks at you to kill you. I mean, it's just an unbelievable death. And if a man lies with a man as he lies with a woman, that is detestable. Both shall be put to death. If you read in Leviticus, it's a sin. So it's like today, again, Jesus didn't come and say, now that's legal. Now it's okay to be gay. He came so that you don't have to die for that. It's still a sin. So that's the problem I had, like with gay Christians and like all the other people that were going to burn, like Hindus. They're beautiful people. I'm like, what on earth? I mean, it seemed like all these facts just bombarded my life, like logic facts just overwhelmed me at that point when I just said, that's it. So there's no way it's real. There's just no way it's real. That's just what I came to believe, that there's just no way that this is it, that this God, who's capable of anything, he's capable of creating anything, and this is why he created. You know, for example, he knows everything. So when he made Adam, he already knew Adam would fall. He didn't wonder. God didn't make Adam and say, I wonder what's going to happen now. No. He gave him one rule, don't eat that apple, and he did. He already knew he was going to eat it when he made him. Right? He had to. Either he didn't know, so he's not omnipotent, so we need to stop saying that he knows everything. Because if he didn't know that when he made Adam, then he's not omnipotent. And if he did know that, then why? Why create something with all this suffering? Actually, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he said to himself, I'm going to do this and not let myself know. I'm just going to give these things free will, and I don't know what's going to happen. Let's assume that's what he did. If that's what he did, then he should have stopped right there. When Adam ate the apple, he should have said, dang it, let me tear that up. Or let him live his rest of his life out and not do anything, you know. Make him impotent to where he couldn't have kids, and stop it there and start all over and make something right, rather than just saying, oh, they ate the apple. Well, let's see what happens, right? I mean, if I was to make something, like if Toyota made a car, and this car they made, they were like, oh God, this is horrible, it breaks all the time, and well, hell with it, let's just sell it and see what happens. They would have been out of business a long time ago, right? Because you wouldn't make such a stupid decision. You wouldn't. It's just illogical. And to call something so fascinating that purposefully makes them. Let me give you another example. The talking snake in the Garden of Eden was just a talking snake. It wasn't Lucifer. Lucifer was up in heaven with him. He was his right-hand man. He didn't have Jesus up there with him. He had Lucifer up there with him. Well, when Lucifer and God are watching Adam and Eve eat the apple, they see the snake tell her the snake was just a talking snake. The talking snake says to Eve, hey, you should do it. And then Eve eats it, and then she makes Adam and Eve eat it. God and Lucifer were up there watching it together. And Lucifer says to God, hey, I think I can do a better job with them. Oh, and God, no, really? Okay, well, I don't think you can. Why don't you let me have a shot? So God said to him, if you think you can do better, go, let's see what you can do. But don't come back. On his way out the door, Lucifer looked to all of the angels in heaven and said, does anybody want to come with me? And an entire third of the angels went with Lucifer, giving a chance to stay in heaven with God or go take their chances with Lucifer. What did they do? They said, I'm out, let's roll. So he already made angels that were defective, and then he makes humans who were obviously defective. And like if he'd have stopped with Adam, think of all the suffering that would never have happened. Think of all the unbelievable, brutal stories in this world that would never have happened, right? Let's say, okay, okay, fine, he wanted to see what, maybe he thought something good, maybe he wanted to give him more chances, but okay, so now it gets all the way bad to where, like, he's like, oh my God, things are so bad, I know what I'll do, I'm gonna make myself human on Earth, and so I'm gonna impregnate some woman that's not had sex yet, and she's gonna give birth to me, which I'm gonna call me my son. So I'm gonna make myself human in the form of, I'm gonna call it my son. I'm gonna call the human version of me my son. So I do all that. I make him, but I'm gonna make him die as a sacrifice. A human sacrifice is gonna be a practice that I take part in, so that I can forgive all the rest of humanity after him. If they ask, I'll forgive them. If they worship me, I'll forgive them. If they do all the right things, I'll let them come be with me. But if they get confused because there's so many choices and the world's so big and other geographies don't even talk about me, well, then so be it. Then they're gonna burn forever. These are the logical thoughts that I've had, and so I gotta get going. I've got carried away. I could talk about this forever because it's such a big topic, and I just feel like, listen, it's the number one. If you get a life after this, that's eternal life. Why would you even jeopardize the eternity? You're gonna live for millions and trillions of years. Why would you even care about these 75 or 85 years on Earth that you're gonna get? Right? Just sacrifice them. That's where I was like, it's such a good deal. I would do it. I would do it if I could believe it. I cannot believe it. It's just not logical. It's the most illogical thing, and my mind cannot accept it. I cannot accept it, that I can't worship anything like that. I can't worship the Islam God, you know. I cannot do it. I have to believe that if there's something out there, this is what I hold out hope for. I'll close with this, and then I can do another video to get deeper into it maybe, but I'm going to close with this. What I believe now, I hold out hope that maybe there's something out there. There's something out there that truly does not intervene in our lives in any ways. He doesn't save us from anything. We're on this rock, and good things happen and horrible things happen, and there's just nothing we can do about it other than work on ourselves and try to be better people, and we have to fix it. But so long as we're praying for somebody to come fix it, we're never going to fix it. And if we're telling all of our followers that, hey, this thing's going to blow up someday and Jesus is going to come back and rescue us all, he's going to take the good people and he's going to blow up everybody else, why try to fix this thing, right? If it's going to blow up anyway, why try to fix it? In fact, let's get things worse so he comes back. That's what's happening in our world. People are confused by these stories, and it's hurting people. It's hurting society. It's why we can't get along. It's why we fight wars. It's why Israel and Palestine is blowing each other up. It's just ugly. It's ugly, and it's got to stop. We're never going to unify under religions. The only way we can unify is through humbly saying, we don't know what happens when we die. And it's okay. We can just hope and wonder until we have the answers. We will likely never have those answers. How did we get here? We have an idea. We can see evolution. We can see kind of how things have evolved, but we don't know much more than that. But, and so I don't know. That's where I'm at. I know it's a hard place to be if you believe. I know it's not a journey. You can't just hear my words and go, boop, wow, that ASMR guy's right. No. It's not how it works. It's a personal journey, but I think it's a personal journey that begins by saying, think about this. Nothing else matters. I don't care what you're doing. Nothing else matters than your eternity. If you believe, then whatever you're doing, you need to be Christ-like. And if everyone was Christ-like, yes, the world would be an amazing place, but Christians are not. Most Christians are not. And they don't strive to be Christ-like. They live in a fantasy religion world where this mainstream form of Christianity we have it's been bastardized, where churches actually fly rainbow flags on them, and they're just big money centers. I mean, Jesus went into the temple and knocked that stuff over because the money changers were in there. I mean, he hated it. The man walked around in sandals and a robe. He had nothing, but he lived in harmony with these beliefs. This is the story, right? This is what you should want to do. So, I don't know. My way is I just hold out hope. I try to be the best person I can be. I hold out hope that there's something out there with energy, or there is something after this that we will find. Maybe we can be with our loved ones again, maybe. I hold out hope, but I believe in my heart of hearts it's none of these books that men have written to try to control us. That's what it is. These were written by men long ago when humans have been wicked forever. And these books, I believe, all of them, were written to control men, to organize humanity. They knew that the best way for the future of society, gay sex does not produce human beings. Having men and women be together, and so making this illegal because men and women would be together. All these rules were made for a reason, so that you didn't you were helpful to society. We needed more people. We had to reproduce. It even says be fruitful and multiply. It was a commandment. That's what he wanted it. That's what that book wants us to do, because the men that wrote it knew that was the best way to organize society, and for society to have its best hope for survival and for peaceful living. The family unit is much more stable than any other type of relationship, at least back then, So that's what I believe. I hold out hope. I don't claim to know anything other than to say I don't believe these books are the answer. That's it. It's just my belief. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the answers, but I think there's some humility in saying we don't know. We don't know. But I will say my mind is open. I would love to have a revelation that it's real, and I can tell you that if I could have if I ever could get my faith back, I would preach for sure, but I would probably be a Jehovah's Witness. So I wouldn't be a Joel Osteen, and Jehovah's Witness preachers don't get paid. So I won't get rich doing that. I would do it to follow that word. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the ramblings, and I hope that you don't. I hope you don't leave me just because we have different beliefs. I'm a good person. I really am, and I try to live the best way possible. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Good night.